No, again. It's curious how sometimes obscure subject suddenly crop up more or less simultaneously without any apparent causal link. The expression synchronicity was coined to cover this phenomenon. You know the kind of thing. You come across an unfamiliar word which you have never encountered before, and no sooner do you check its meaning than it turns up again in a newspaper or book. I felt like that on Wednesday. On Tuesday, we heard about the murder of two police officers in Australia by a member, I should say, of the sovereign citizen movement. Although movement isn't really the word to describe it, it is perhaps more a philosophical concept. I know quite a bit about the sovereign citizens because at one time I had dealings with a British offshoot who are known as the Freemen on the land. I haven't thought about them for, well, must be years. I came into contact with them because some of them are enthusiastic home educators who refuse not only to send their children to school, but even to register their births. Then blow me, just as I'm mulling over the contact I had with those folk in connection with home education, I got a call from LBC asking to interview me about home education. Spooky or what? Both the sovereign citizens and the free men of the land believe that they are able to remain independent of the laws which everybody else has to obey. They think it's possible to withdraw consent from statute law by various legal tricks and declarations, being then bound only by common law. The advantages of this are that they can then claim that they don't have to pay taxes, such as income tax and council tax, or obtain driving licenses, apply for planning permission, register the birth of their children, and a host of other things which most of us wish we could avoid getting mixed up with. The sovereign citizens to which the fellow wanted for the death of those two police officers in Australia belongs began in America back in the 1970s and 80s, whereas the free men of the land are more of a British Commonwealth thing. It started in Canada. That's why I was a bit surprised to hear that the man on the run in Australia is a sovereign citizen rather than a free man on the land. The home education angle in this country is that some of these types feel that they wish to have nothing at all to do with the everyday things which the rest of us have. They want to be as cut off from the state as they possibly can, and who can blame them? For free men on the land, this can become almost an obsession. Some refuse to register the birth of their children, which is A, illegal, and B, makes life very tricky for the kid as he or she grows up because there's no official record of his or her birth. I've known a few kids like that reach the age of 16, and things are really, really awkward for them when they try to get a national insurance number or um, a passport, say. Then too, free men of the land sometimes refuse to register with a doctor as well, partly because they won't have dealings with national insurance numbers, and they won't register their children with a doctor either. As you can imagine, their lives are one long struggle. Of course, when a baby's not registered, then it can simply disappear, and nobody will know what happened to it. There's no record of such children. They never see health visitors, have eye tests, and all that kind of thing. Needless to say, they don't get sent to school either. I tried to explain to some of these people how this kind of lifestyle was bound to arouse suspicion in social services that their children might be at risk, and that at the very least they should register their kids' births, but none of them ever would. They would not attend court if they received a summons either, because those things didn't apply to them. Some of them were New Age travellers, but others lived in ordinary homes but refused to pay council tax. or tax their cars, the arguments which they used in support of their beliefs have been tested in British courts and found to be worthless. The free men on the land are still going, though. It was interesting being reminded of their existence because I'd honestly forgotten about my dealings with them until that news item jogged my memory.